Real quick, right off, I just want to make one correction. At the beginning of the last episode, I said Michael had been doing tree work since the 60s. He's actually been doing tree work since the 70s. So sorry about that, Michael. That was just one dyslexic tree guy's mistake. With that, then let's shift over to this next episode. This next episode, we kind of go back more towards some of our older episodes. I'd like to thank Johnny for coming on and just talking trees with us for a while. We had a great conversation that went down the wildlife road and squirrels and all kinds of different stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoy. We always like your feedback because that helps us make a better podcast for everybody to listen to. So any thoughts that you got on your mind, please send them our way. We're at treethinkingpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us emails, or you can just reach out on the social medias and Facebook or Instagram. Just search Tree Thinking Podcast, and we should come up. Make sure to share with a friend. Just click on the little share button on whatever app you're listening to. Text it to a buddy that you might think likes it. Maybe bring it up at work and see what your fellow tree people think of it. And without further ado, we're going to take care of some business, and then we'll get right to it.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not, nor is it intended to be, a substitute for professional arboriculture advice and should never be relied upon to perform or direct arboricultural work. The Tree Thinking Podcast makes no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of any information on this podcast and will not be liable for any damages arising from the use of any information in the practice of arboriculture or tree work. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the guests, and their appearance on the podcast does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The podcast and its hosts are not to be held responsible for misuse, cited, and/or uncited copies of the content within this podcast by others. The Tree Thinking Podcast may not be reproduced or distributed without the express written consent of the Tree Thinking Podcast.
Yo, the Tree Thinkers. Andrew, what's up, man? This is Jake the Rake. Did you get those postcards I sent you? I was thinking of a little collab, you know what I mean? Yeah, I just listened to that last Tim Kovar episode, and dude, your slow flow was remarkable on that intro. Just that smooth delivery, the basso profundo, like I don't know, man. It's so soothing to my soul. It's just lovely. But it made me think of some band names that maybe we should get together and spit some fire, you know what I mean? Some lyrics and some beats. It seems like you know what's up there. I mean, that Tim guy said something too that kind of stuck in my head. Obviously, the most important thing is a name. He said like, what does he call it? His onboard technicians. Like, that sounds cool. I think. Oh no, it was the facilitators. Yeah, the facilitators, onboard facilitators. That sounds cool to me. I don't know, just spitting, you know. But maybe you're in the shower. Are you in the shower or like the bath or something? I mean, I called Jamie a couple times. My mom let me use her phone. Now I'm using my phone card to get your number. So Jamie gave me your number. Hope that's cool. But I was like, I have Jamie's number on speed dial when my mom lets me use her phone. She's like number 2, I think. And that says to him, and then Dad's number 1. So I mean, you know how it goes. So maybe you get at me, dog. I'll be just kicking it, you know. But yeah, love the last episode. I'll see you in real life.
All right. Well, I guess me and Jake have a little collabo to do coming up.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how that goes.
Can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Well, this episode, we've had some really good interviews. We've had a lot of fun talking to people, but we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit here and just get into a little bit of a random episode and just kind of tell some stories from the field and see how everybody's doing. So before we get too far in it, I'm Andrew.
I'm Corey. Jamie.
I'm Johnny.
And we're back again. I'd like to thank Johnny for coming on and spending some time. Robin wasn't able to make it, but Johnny's crushing it in the field at Sperry right now. So I'm sure he's got some stories from the field and a great perspective to share. Before we get too far into it, what stories do we got? Let's just get straight into stories from the field.
Who's got one to go first?
I guess I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
So this, I guess it's kind of a stories from the field. So recently I went to North Carolina and visited a high school friend of mine, Spencer and Julia, who put me and my wife up there while we were there. Spent the whole week with them, and this has been my first time that I've ever been in the South. I did some tree work for them while I was there, climbed some great trees. Like all you guys who live down in the South, like you guys have some really cool trees. But yeah, while I was there, I did some work in like a shagbark hickory and I think it was an eastern juniper. Really, really humid down there. Like it's a different kind of humidity than here. Like it was like I thought it was humid here.
Yeah.
And then I went down there and it was like only 80 degrees and I think I was working at like 1 or 2 and I was just drenched in sweat.
Oh, it's a different beast down there.
It is just very different.
Probably didn't pee all day. You're just sweating.
No.
Yeah.
Just walk outside and you're just fucking drenched in sweat. It was.
You just pee through your skin.
Yeah, exactly. It's urea. There's urea in there too. But yeah, did that and then we went and saw the Angel Oak, which is just outside of Charleston in Southern Carolina, which is we were in Charlotte area. And it's just like a hop, skip, and jump across the border, and you're there in Charleston. Saw the Angel Oak, which was it was really incredible. Just how many like reiterations it had, how it would like lower these. It's a Quercus virginiana, a live oak, right? And it has all these branches that it will like grow down into the ground, and then they'll kind of like pop back up. Like some of them actually burrow under the ground. I don't know if they actually like re-root in the ground. Or if it's just like a kind of a support thing, but like just ancient branches that are just like growing. It's really incredible. And obviously it's had some help. It's got like a bunch of supports. It's got a bunch of cables up in it. It's had a bunch of tree work in there. And that's my next bucket list is to go and climb the Angel Oak, which I know will never actually happen.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, put it on your vision board at home and maybe
maybe it'll happen.
Yeah.
But
that's so cool. That's definitely one of those bucket list trees. You know, there's not just species, but like that individual tree is one of those ones I've been seeing pictures of and just love to climb it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not going to happen.
No.
Just would love, to go see it. Man, I'm jealous.
Yeah. No, but it was great. I mean, it was kind of it was on the property of this old like parish church thing, right? And then there was I think it was a city park that was attached to it, and like the city had bought the property. There were a bunch of people there, which was, I'm not a big people person, so that wasn't great. But it was awesome to see the tree. I didn't get I got to touch it, but I didn't get like a special moment with it or anything. Excuse me. But they had done some good protection stuff. They had put like mulch rings down around it, so they kept compaction down to a minimum. They there were signs everywhere that said don't climb on the tree, don't wander around the tree, because it's pretty easy. You could literally just limb walk right up to the main scaffold branches on it, because it's basically like a staircase, because the branches just dive right down. So yeah, that was a really cool experience. Another one was the Middleton Oak, another Quercus virginiana live oak, and that was in just outside of Charleston, heading back to Charlotte. And that one was on an old plantation. This one was like, they estimate 900 to 1,000 years old, which was probably about the same diameter as the Angel Oak, but it had a bunch of failures on it because it was on this plantation. So Middleton Place is, I think they said, one of the oldest established gardens in the United States that was based after like European gardens and stuff. So it's like manicured lawn all around it. It's kind of like on the outskirts of the garden, or it's like along the periphery of the garden, right? So it's not like a main central point of the garden, but it's along the periphery. So I have to imagine that they had like pruned the branches up over time, and that's probably why it had all those failures, because the branches weren't able to like reach down into the ground and then kind of help
to
stabilize
get
them.
clearance for the plants.
Exactly. Clearance for the plants and clearance for the lawn to like mow it and stuff. So it had, on one side, it had 2 or 3 pretty sizable failures. But then on the side towards the river and then the side that kind of went parallel to the river, there was one big reaching limb parallel to the river and then one that went down towards the river that had like a brace on it. But just incredible trees down there. And seeing, it was a head trip, like seeing like sweet gums and willow oaks and, the pines that they have down there, like seeing them in their natural habitat. Like here you see them and, sweet gum is kind of a dirty word in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
It's just horrible trees here, but like seeing them there, it's like you understand why they brought them over here, because they look pretty cool in their natural environment. And then willow oaks, like we don't have very many willow oaks here. I think in my career I worked in like 5 maybe willow oaks, but there it's just like willow oak, willow oak, willow oak, willow oak. It's crazy.
So the sweet gums, did you see them in the urban environment, like as a street tree?
All of
and
the above.
how what was the structure like there? Is it similar to here, or is it more like?
It was similar to here. They're they're very pyramidal in their natural environment. It's more like it's almost like a conifer growth pattern. Again, just very pyramidal, very nice clear central stem. The branches do grow kind of up more, but they're just not. They grow fast, obviously, but it's just not the same as here. Like they just don't.
So is it like a Dawn redwood?
Kind of, yeah.
Where you got this central trunk and then big long branches that kind of come off and go up.
Yeah, kind of like a cross between a Dawn redwood and a deodar cedar, kind of, with the reiteration to kind of grow up.
Yeah,
like it's somewhere in between those two.
They seem like great trees when they're 20 years old, and then once they're past 20 years old, they get all sorts of tops and reiterations and
failures.
Failures, the inevitable failures. Yeah.
I have a buddy that I cut a big sweet down for in his front yard, and he had sprouts coming up. And he's like, "What should I do?" I was like, "Well, you can grind the stump if you want." I was like, "Or just select the best sprout, let it get to about 20, 30 feet tall. I'll come out, we'll fell it, and then we'll let another sprout come up and
That's
get
awesome.
to, keep it manageable. It's still a beautiful fall color."
Yeah, one of the other species that was really weird seeing it's an invasive, but seeing it in like just popping up everywhere was the silk tree.
Okay.
Mimosa tree, yeah. But you'd be driving down the freeway and you'd see mimosa tree. Like here, it's like they're short-lived trees, and they just have to, everyone who owns one, I feel like they just really protect the tree because it's it just doesn't live very long, and it's like this gorgeous tree and all that stuff. But there you just see them, and they're like just weeds basically. It was interesting.
So it is just a short-lived tree here, right? You always see them. This would die back all over.
Yeah, they're like 20 years old, I think, is like an old silk tree.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, they're pretty weedy. They're gorgeous, but they're pretty weedy.
So do you know much about the silk tree? Because it looks like the jacaranda.
So I know it comes, I don't know what its relation is to that tree. I know it comes from Persia, I want to say, like the Middle East, Persian area. That's where it originally came from, and then they brought it over probably to Europe, and then obviously it made the jump across the ocean, and then it's kind of become invasive over here, especially in the Southwest, Midwest, East Coast area. It's not as invasive over here, but over east it seems to be.
It's like our Atlantis.
It's like our Atlantis, except not as shitty, because the Atlantis has to be the worst tree ever.
Or they probably don't get as big as an Atlantis.
No. No, old growth Atlantis.
Yeah.
5 years old, 600 feet tall.
Cool, man. That sounds awesome. And I'm sure everyone has seen pictures of the angel oak, and if not, we'll put it on Instagram or Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, we'll get some up on our Instagram.
Or just go look it up. It's a cool tree.
Yeah,
it's probably like a virtual tour or something.
There's got to be.
Yeah.
It's the age of the internet.
I've seen posts of the angel oak probably 3 or 4 times since you've been. It's one of those things. Now that I'm thinking about it, and that's because a lot of my algorithms for my Facebook is sending me tree pictures. That being said, it's out there. We'll put the pictures you took up on our account, but Google it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So was there any other tree related stuff on that trip?
I mean, there was a bunch. I was drunk for a lot of it though. So.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
It's coming back.
Come on, give us the dirt. Oh no,
it's coming back in fog. You know?
Yeah.
You went to a NASCAR race. What kind of trees did you see around the
Fortis Drive Fasticus. There's a lot of those. There wasn't any trees around.
Yeah.
Somehow I think that much pollution tends to kill it.
Yeah.
That was a unique experience though. First NASCAR race ever.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
So they don't have any like trees, lining the raceway.
Yeah. Believe it or not, they do.
Worst idea ever.
First and only NASCAR race, or
I mean, if I'm back there and I'm with buddies, I'll do it again. I mean, I just drank a lot, man.
Yeah.
It's like
you do.
I'm not there for the race. I'm just there for the alcohol, and
Part of the Redneck Olympics.
it was. Yeah. There was no wreck though, so yeah, no, it's not my last one. I'll go. There's no crash. If there was a crash there, then it could have been my last one. But yeah, I got to see the crash.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess I did my first cat rescue today, like just right before I came over here.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. I've had a call before, but they ended up just being like, oh, no, it came down or whatever. I don't know what happened, but it never ended up happening. But today I went and did it. And I guess I'll just walk you through it. I got there, and it was in a fir tree, not very tall fir tree, maybe like 60 feet or something, kind of skinny. And we have to go down their hill in their backyard through all this like blackberry thicket, like covering your head. There's little hobbit hole kind of things through there, carried all our gear. We get to it, and my throw ball shot was like, there's no room to do anything. So I like hit the low branch awkwardly, just like moving rope on up to this cat. And then I was thinking, my thought at first when I was pulling up was like, I should put a long sleeve on just in case this cat's scared. Like, who knows how they're going to act,
Oh, yeah.
But I got down there and I didn't have it. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to hike back through that. I got my line set, and the owner was there, and she was kind of talking to the cat the whole time. And I got up there just nice and slow, kept talking to it the whole time. I had some food for it and everything. And you could tell it was just like, obviously curious, like what the heck is going on? Who is this? But then when I got up there, like talking to it, it was just like, oh yeah, you're going to help me. I'm going to come down to you. It was like,
that's nice.
Me. Yeah. Yeah. So it went into the rope bag, like no problem.
It's better when they don't. It's better when they don't fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I was nervous. Being the first one. Yeah. Went to the rope bag. No problem. Brought it down. They took the rope bag inside. The cat had been up there for 2 days, so it was just ready for some food and water.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about cat rescues. You should leave them up there for a couple days. Because one, that's part of, a lot of times it's young cats that go up the trees. And part of it is learning how to get back down. And if they can't get down after a couple nights, then they need help. But it's also a lot easier when they're tired and realize they want you to help them down.
Yeah. I mean, I was worried, like, could this cat, like, just get scared and jump,
I've had it happen.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a cat jump from probably like 50 feet up.
Man.
50, 60 feet up. And that thing, it didn't jump. I was like, I had to climb a tree next to it because it was up at the very top of the cedar tree. And so I climbed up. There's a big fir tree next to it. So I climbed up in that fir tree and kind of came down, was able to jump over and kind of grab the cedar tree that it was in. And it was just so freaked out. And so I just kind of sat there and talked with it for a while and, get a little bit closer, and it'd back up and get a little closer and it'd back up. And finally it just was like, it backed, like it was high enough, and it tried backing up onto this limb, and it just kind of fell off the limb. It couldn't balance anymore. Ooh. And it just like, it was the look of terror on a cat's face as it's grabbing to try to grab something as it goes. And it just went down, hit the ground, and just took off at a full speed sprint. Huh. I mean, cats can land from pretty high. It's, it was totally fine. It took off, and I didn't see it again, but the homeowner said that they found it, hanging out in its favorite spot, and it was 100% fine. But yeah, that was the one time I've had a cat get away from, going that route, and I felt so bad coming down, and after the cat fell, you're like, oh man, I'm really sorry. I swear that's never happened before, But It sounds like you had a successful rescue.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. I mean, they were so happy to get the cat down. The woman and her kid, in tears and stuff, and I don't know. Just you felt like the hero.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Take that, firefighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show up with my Protos looking like a Power Ranger.
So moral of the story is the sweet talk, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like
Sweet talk the cat.
Intentionally
talk
move
it.
real slow. I'd stop every now and then, like, "Hey, kitty," "Hey, sweetie," like, "Hey, you're a good climber. You got all the way up here."
Yeah. Did you get its nickname?
Its name's Blair.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what I always ask if they have some of its food,
Yeah.
And like it's like you call it like when you're calling it to come cuddle, are you hey Blairy, which is funny because you'll be up in the tree like, come here, princess,
Yeah,
come
exactly.
here, sweetie,
Yeah.
sweetie. But that's what you gotta do. You gotta sweet talk them.
Yeah.
Sweet talk. Did you use a pillowcase or did you just
A rope bag.
rope bag? Nice.
Notch.
Nice.
Rope bag.
Notch rope bag. Notch for the win.
Yeah. The pro cat rescue people, at least some of them, will sew a glove into a pillowcase, so they'll be able to grab, put their hand through it with a glove, grab the back of the cat's neck, and then invert the pillowcase around them, and then just or they'll have the canvas bag, not a pillowcase, so they'll invert the canvas bag, pull the pull string, and just hook it to their harness and bring them down.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But this cat was like, "Oh yeah, save me!" Like,
Yeah.
here. So I just grabbed her with two hands and gently put her in the rope bag.
Yep.
But yeah, I probably should have had long sleeves and probably should have expected it.
You never know. I've had them that were like real freaking out where, I'm glad that I had something to grab and invert around them. But I've also had them like you're saying where they just want to come down. And I had one that just like grabbed onto my chest, not with claws, but just wanted to be on my chest. And so I had this big Carhartt jacket on. So I just zipped the Carhartt jacket over the cat.
Nice.
And it was just cuddled up on my chest and I just descended it down. I was like, I'm going to spook it or something's going to go wrong if I move it. So I was just like, zip, let's go.
So the ones who are freaked out, are they like hissing at you like on your way up? They're just meowing. Like,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
remember.
all kinds of stuff. I had one where one of the people in the company had gone up before me and like chased it up higher and higher in the tree, and the cat peed on him, and all kinds of stuff, which was funny. I don't know if the cat was just really relaxed by the time I got there, and
It was out of pee.
maybe it was, but it was the kindest cat to me. Like I went up and I was like, oh no, I got to go climb this tree, and the cat already pissed on the last guy, and it's like freaking out. And I went up there, and it was definitely kind of like, kind of freaking out, but it didn't flip that urine switch. It didn't turn the corner, and I was able to. That was one where I grabbed the back of the neck and just inverted it around a bag, and But
Nice. Yeah, it's not. The last animal rescue I did was actually for the Raptor Society here in town. You've done one with them before, right?
no, I haven't. I've
No?
yeah.
oh no, I did some work at the
You did some work, right?
yeah, Raptor Center.
Yeah, I've
but I
worked
didn't-
at the Raptor Center, but not like gone and got the Raptors. I've gotten some calls when I was busy, but it's never got a call when I was able to respond to it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last one I went to was an osprey that got tangled up in fishing line, and they found it before I was halfway there, and then they took a picture of it, and it was like hanging upside down. It was dead. Like,
Oh no.
yeah. So I didn't make it in time for that one, but the one before that was an owl, barn owl, I think. I don't remember what kind of owl it was, but it was a young nesting owl, and it had jumped out of the nest prematurely, and it wasn't ready to it wasn't ready to be out on its own. It couldn't fly or anything. So we had to, 2 days before that, one of my coworkers had gone out there and had put the owl back up in there, and then it jumped out again, and then I had to go back out and then take it up in a rope bag and just very gentle. You had to be below the nest, and you had to have your time point below the nest, and then you had to very gently push the bag up and over, and then let it come out on its own back into its nest. Because if it saw you, or if it they were really, really skittish, and they're really they can get spooked really easy.
Yeah.
And if they're 60 feet up in a tree, that's really bad for an owl that can't really fly. So you had to be really, really careful with it in the bag. And I swear I sat there for half an hour, just lifting the bag. I was in position, but just half an hour of just lifting the bag and trying to get it to hop out onto the nest. It was
I just picture you up there like, this is your home, stupid. Go home.
and Scott Altenhoff was on the ground, and all the homeowners were there. So, like, if I drop this fucking owl out of this tree, I am never going to live this down.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me, on that, we talked about it a little bit on the last climb, or on the last episode, but we did that big climb with David Anderson from Canopy Watch.
Yeah.
And shout out to David if you're listening. He's hopefully going to be able to come on to one of these episodes. And one of the things that they do is help teach arborists, or I don't know if they're doing it or if it's just something he was talking about that he wanted to do, but set up some trainings to help train arborists in how to handle raptors and birds and, you know, rehome them. You know, the idea is like help teach biologists to climb trees and then have biologists help teach arborists how to.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I look forward to that conversation and learning more about it.
Yeah. Go get that training too. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Go check out Canopy Watch and see what they're up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have any like super interesting rescue stories?
Not that I can think of.
Or just not getting peed on was
Not getting. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like a successful rescue isn't super interesting.
Yeah.
You know, you just kind of go up and you sweet talk the cat a little bit and you give it pets and you give it love and you bring it down and everybody's happy.
I got called for a drone rescue once.
Interesting.
Yeah, nice. And then I think I was on my way and called him, and he's like, "You know what? I just climbed up there and got it." All right, man. Good on you.
Wouldn't it be funny though if you showed up and there's a drone like 20 feet up, a fur that was just like a ladder, you know?
Guy laying there at the
bottom. It's too high, man. It's too high.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done any cat rescues, Johnny?
Yeah, I did one cat rescue for a buddy in his ash tree. It was only about 30 feet maximum. And I think it just kind of clung on to me.
Yeah.
I tried to put it in the bag, but it kind of just like parachuted, you know, and just like stiffened up with its arms out. But on the cat note, it reminds me of this podcast I listened to probably last summer. It's a study about cats jumping out of balconies from high-rise buildings. And actually, cats that jump from 9 stories and higher are more likely to survive than like 5 to 8 stories.
Whoa.
Because they hit terminal velocity and they have time to relax and they just bounce off the ground.
Wow.
Whoa.
That makes sense because when I was growing up, we had some neighbors who had some really big dogs. And one of our cats got into the neighbor's property, and then they chased it up to into a fir tree, right? And then it fell out of the fir tree, and it like broke like its arm or leg really badly, right? Like had to have pins in it and everything. And I hear like a cat falling at 50 feet out of a tree, and I'm like, well, how does that? Why didn't this cat like do that? But I guess that makes sense. It must have just been like just at that right distance where it was like.
Well, and it probably gives it time to fully rotate. Because that's how cats deal with it, is they get that whole weird, like how flexible their spine is. They can just flip over. And I'd imagine if you're doing that from 30 feet, they might not have time to make all the like athletic cat maneuvers to land on their feet. You know, and so if they're 20 feet and they're in the middle of this crazy twist and they land there, that'd probably be a little worse.
Right. They haven't had time to like stiffen up, then relax, and then take the impact kind of thing.
Yeah. I've heard that squirrels, though, are one of the only animals that can fall from any height and they're okay. I think it was squirrels because of like their size to weight ratio and the way they're able to spread out. You know, you could throw a squirrel off of a building, you know, and it's going to be able to spread out and just like take the fall, you know.
Well, they got flying squirrel in their blood.
Yeah, exactly. They're just one evolutionary step away from a flying squirrel.
What do they call those? The other ones, the sugar gliders? I guess those aren't squirrels. Are they? Are they rodents or are they mammals?
I don't know, but
there's flying squirrels native.
Oh yeah, I've seen those working out in at some campgrounds outside of town. I think we were up by Shotgun maybe, but I think Grits was in the tree. And all of a sudden, a couple flying squirrels come shooting out of the tree he's in and glide over to a tree somebody else was in. It's like, whoa, that's kind of cool.
That's so funny because we were removing these 3 big cottonwoods right by Ike's Pizza, actually, Angel's Flight Road and up the Mackenzie River, and one was a snag, pretty much totally dead, and it had flying squirrel cavities all over it, and this flying squirrel was just crawling up while Grits was up in there.
Yeah.
And then jumped. He took the top out, and then it climbed up to him, and then it just jumped off the top, and we got it on video.
Following him up the tree? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
After he'd already sent the top?
Yeah. After
Was
the top
was
out.
it in the top that went?
No, I think it was right below him, I guess.
Okay,
Must have
okay.
been.
Crazy.
I think I saw that video. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, Grit's just the flying squirrel whisperer.
Yeah.
So I got another story. It fits perfectly into this. There's a client who has, I don't know how to call it, I guess a squirrel sanctuary.
Just a bunch of big leaf maples just chewed to shit with big dead trunks.
No, so trees are there for the squirrels, man. Trees are
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
I've
fir
met a few
trees
of
with
those
dead
clients.
tops.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So we hung squirrel boxes for her. Like took down dead fir and hung a squirrel box, like, 30 feet high or whatever.
Dead fur as in like girdled or?
No. Yeah, I didn't look for foul play.
Let's back up a little bit. What the fuck is a squirrel box? Is it?
Everybody needs a home, Corey. Everybody needs a
I'm
home.
not judging. I just have
So,
never heard of a
I
squirrel
just
box.
saw this today because we were tagged in it, but Squirrel Boxes is on Instagram. You look it up. This
Okay.
guy specializes in building
All
squirrel
right,
boxes.
all right. There's a whole. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Shout out to squirrel boxes.
The
I'm
lady's super cool, but she takes in squirrels, and I don't know if they need like rehab or whatever. Maybe they were dropped out of a tree by an arborist. Like,
Yeah.
that sometimes happens, right?
Corey keeps
Grace-
them in business.
Gray squirrels or
I
red
do my
squirrels?
best. Everybody
Gray
knows.
squirrels.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure she doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
No discrimination.
But they live in the house. I think for a certain portion of her life, she's got these big cages built in the house, and then outside there's cages. And then they're also, like, I think at a certain point in their life, they're just roaming the property, and they're, like, super friendly squirrels. Like, they would just come up to her, and she would be, like, petting these squirrels roaming around the place. Pretty cool,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Awesome.
And the craziest part of this was she has a one-eyed raven as a pet.
Like Odin.
Yeah, a one-eyed raven. And I had heard about this before I went over there, and we walk into the backyard, and there's this big cage, and I see the raven, and I was like, oh, who's this? And she introduced her. She's like, oh, this is Memory. And the raven says, hello. Like, no shit. Like, so good. Perfectly. Just like,
Wow.
hello, and like without skipping a beat.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, my reaction was, whoa.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
A little bit of a side tangent, but I swear to God, ravens, when and if they decide to take over the world, they're going to do it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
gonna be-
super smart.
It's going to be
super
Alfred Hitchcock's
Yeah.
The Birds with ravens. Just
So I need to reach out to her because I've had this idea for a long time, and I think it could be the next big shot. Train squirrels, give them little harnesses, hook
Whoa.
throw ball line on them, just get a laser pointer, run them up the tree, find the crotch you want, over that crotch, and then down the
That's
tree.
perfect.
Boom.
Hey,
line set, first time, every time.
Yeah,
know what-
I'll put you in touch with her.
with electric chainsaws being a lot lighter than combustion engine chainsaws, just you can outfit one of those squirrels with that thing.
Don't even start that. They're coming for our jobs.
Put the GTA on its back. Right over its head. It's like the sharks with the laser beams on their heads.
Squirrels with chainsaws in their back.
Squirrels with freaking laser beams attached to their freaking heads.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, man, if we get it on the ground floor of this, we'll still have jobs because somebody has to train those squirrels,
Yeah.
and it could be us.
So one thing that happened there is there was a squirrel box that was installed a while ago, and she put a blanket in there. It was like the one this squirrel like grew up with, so it would know like to go in there or whatever. But she was like, it's avoiding that place. So I think it's like the blanket's wet. Could you guys get it out of there or whatever? So I go up in the tree, and my hand is too big to fit in the squirrel hole. So I try to get a stick and get in there. I just couldn't do it. So I was like, Becca, come on up here, and her hands fit right in there. She was able to get it out.
I just picture this little laundry line with all these squirrel blankets laying over it, drying out.
Yeah. Or like a actual bed, like in the squirrel box. Or pulling the blanket off of it. Yeah, it was cool. She was cool.
Squirrel boxes. I looked it up on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm now more educated.
Yeah.
I know what a squirrel box is.
They're gonna get that tree thinking bump. Squirrel boxes. Like, what's with all these follows?
They're gonna be like, "Who's this that's following me?"
Bunch of dirty tree
Yeah.
guys.
That tree thinking bump. Corey and Andrew are following him now.
We could start selling squirrel boxes.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh man, we need to get some squirrel boxes. Put the tree thinking logo on them.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
This makes me think of Squirrel Chew. We're just gonna keep going here. But
yeah, yeah.
We'll get to other people's stories here soon. You had told me a while.
I can't hold that anymore.
You had told me a while back about putting antlers in trees to like combat squirrel chew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's something you guys.
Sorry,
Corey's dying here.
I'm just flashing back to our conversation about that.
About squirrel chew.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, I'm sure you guys still do it at Sperry, right?
The antlers are kind of hard to come by, it seems like.
Oh yeah. See,
They're high in calcium, right? That's why
Yeah.
I like them.
oh yeah, you can see them whittle like if you have to nail them to a fence or to the tree or something, because the squirrel will take it back to its home because they like them so much. And so we'd just you'd have to drill a hole. We'd cut the antlers down into like 4 to 6 inch pieces,
Little bite-sized squirrel pieces.
little bite size, squirrel size servings. And then we'd trees that were already being hit real hard. We wouldn't put them in trees that weren't being hit by squirrel chew because we didn't want to attract a bunch of squirrels to those trees. And we got to the point where we were actually putting them on fences and stuff. The idea, train them not to go into trees to chew on
nice.
chew on stuff. But you can do it with the T-bone, the bone from your steak.
Okay.
You can nail that to the fence also. And it makes sense because these are things that are in the woods anyways.
Yeah.
Bones, antlers, and stuff. The squirrels are finding in nature. And they're rodents. They got to work on those teeth, or they'll just keep growing. So
It'd be funny to walk out and see your neighbor nailing his T-bone steak to his fence.
Yeah.
He's just got a cow skull that he's like putting on the fence post.
Well, I've seen skulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a human skull, you know.
I've seen like animal skulls that people put out in their yard that are chewed on.
Yeah, yeah.
So you'll see that squirrels will look for that. So if you're having a lot of squirrel issues, and it's funny, I remember, I think it was a TCIA conference in Charlotte, actually.
Oh, nice.
Back in 2008 or something. And there was a bunch, I was just hanging out with a bunch of arborists, and we were talking about, what do you do for squirrel chew? And I was like, oh, we nail antlers to the tree or to the fence. And they're like, what? I don't know. I guess, you know what? How many people out there have heard of doing that before? Because whenever I bring it up, people look at me like I'm crazy, but it works great. And it's one of those things that, people always are wondering how to get squirrels to quit chewing on trees.
Yeah.
And it's bones or antlers or, giving them something else to chew on.
I remember you bringing that up, and then I thought back to a job I had where I was removing an elm tree, and there was elk antlers like stuck in the main crotch of this tree, and it kind of like grown around it a bit, like it'd been there for a long time.
Was this in Southern Oregon?
Yeah, and that makes me wonder if that was the goal or if it was just cool decoration or whatever.
Yeah.
But during the removal, I was able to like carve out the elk antlers like out of the tree without like damaging them and giving them back to the client.
Nice.
Yeah. Wish I could have kept them for myself.
Yeah.
That part of it wasn't written in the contract.
Oh, man.
But then remember we had this hilarious conversation about making a product called Squirrel Chew and making it look like a Copenhagen can.
Yeah.
Squirrel Cha.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So
Yeah,
it's just calcium. We can figure this out.
We haven't really brought this up on the podcast, but we have a few product ideas we've kind of turned over the years.
Look, we can't go too far. We got to save that for the monetization of the podcast. we save some things for the podcast, but we got to save this for the we can wet their whistles, but we can't give them the full dose yet. All right.
Yeah, so instead of Grizzly Chew, it's Squirrely.
Yeah, getting squirrely. Let the squirrels get squirrely with some squirrel chew.
But then they get real hooked on it. You have
Yeah.
a big problem with these,
That's why.
unruly squirrels looking for their chew.
Yeah, when you run out
Yeah.
and they come back for more and you don't have it,
Yeah.
your trees are in trouble.
Yeah. So maybe a way to get rid of squirrel chew is get those squirrel boxes from the homeboy and then get some squirrel chew, our new product coming out, and stick it in there next to their bed.
Yeah, we might have to see if we can't, go into business with squirrel boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're on to something here.
There's hundreds of dollars to be made in that endeavor.
All right, I'm going to delete this so no one steals it from us.
All right, I'm done. That was
Squirrel Tree is
My
trademarked
rant.
by the Tree Thinking Podcast.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about firs, dieback in the tops of firs? How often is it drought or squirrel chew? Seems like to me, I've always noticed it being more likely squirrel chew.
Yeah.
At the top of firs, and
Well, you can see where they're chewing.
yeah,
So if you're up there, you definitely see what it is. I think of if it's drought, the whole tree's probably stressed out. Where if
Yeah.
you just see the top die out, I'm thinking that's probably more likely squirrel chew. And it's one of those things where you become an arborist and you start seeing stuff when you're in the forest. And that's one of those things where you'll all of a sudden see a fir tree and just the top 20 feet will be dead. And it'll just be like, oh, those damn squirrels, they got another one.
I had a buddy out, and Ben posted a picture of it. It was a girdled tree, looked like squirrel tree, but he said it was a porcupine.
Yeah, porcupine.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's a thing.
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they're rodents too. So, right?
Yeah, no, I went out to my aunt and uncle's place who live in Sun River, and they have some lodgepole pines, and they have just giant chunks that have been I don't think any of them have been completely girdled at the top, but it's just a wide swath.
Yeah.
So are porcupines rodents?
Hold please.
Yeah.
Google it.
All right. Yeah, we'll edit this out so
Oh, yeah.
we can sound smart.
We'll sound way
I
smarter.
think the squirrels are just looking out for birds and stuff because where the tops die and the reiterations start,
Yeah.
you get a nice platform for nests and stuff.
Well, and you kind of think about that, and that's, you see a bunch of big old trees in the woods with those reiterations starting. And so how much of us being pissed off at squirrels for girdling the top is just the overall natural way of things, where we're like, we want it to be our way in the city,
Look at us trying to impose our will on everything. Yes, porcupines are rodents.
All right, I thought so, but that being said,
I mean, they look like a rodent. They kind of smell like a rodent.
I think either way, squirrels are better arborists than humans because they plant so many more trees compared to the amount of trees they actually kill.
Also, they come with built-in parachutes, so that's.
Yeah, no.
Go back to it. A sugar
Good
glider
safety.
is a marsupial.
Oh,
Thank you.
nice.
So it's
a-
not even a mammal.
A small, omnivorous, arboreal, and nocturnal gliding possum.
That's a lot of quantifiers for one.
Whoa.
Pretty cool little creature.
So then they probably don't chew on trees. Because the squirrels do because they're rodents and they gotta work those teeth because part of being a rodent is your teeth are constantly growing.
But they could be like
But
a
there's-
koala.
like carbohydrates in the.
Yeah, I
in the
guess it might be a
cambium.
food
Maybe they're
source.
just getting
It
that.
might be a food
Maybe not the
source.
bark, but the foliage and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, when we at Tree Thinking get into these conversations, we actually create more questions than we answer. So sorry about that.
Yeah, if you ever feel stupider after the Tree Thinking podcast, it's on purpose.
Exactly.
By design.
It's by design.
Yeah.
It's part of our shtick. So.
Well, see, that's the problem. Usually we try to have somebody on here that'll educate you, but some of these episodes we don't have anybody to do the education part, and we're just asking questions and Googling it on air.
Yeah, so we're dragging you down to our level. One other thing that, speaking of all these, this is an insect pest, so it's not like a rodent or marsupial or what have you that's chewing on trees. But one thing that I saw a lot over in Charlotte in the south was a lot of trees would have these bands of black plastic or clear plastic or whatever around the base of them, and a lot of them were oaks, and I had never seen that before. And I'm assuming you're familiar with this.
Well, I saw it in Southern Oregon as a way of getting rid of mistletoe.
Oh,
But what I saw was it just ants were just colonizing inside that black plastic.
Interesting.
Yeah, the idea is just suffocating it, I guess. But to me, it ended up creating more problems for the tree because it's just this moist environment in there with all these insects going on. To me, it looked like more of a problem than the mistletoe would have been.
yeah, right. Because mistletoe is fairly benign. It's not going to cause a large limb
Yeah,
failure.
just get it pruned out every 5 years or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So these in the south, it was for canker worms, actually. So the cankerworms will, like, I guess, crawl up the trunks, and this plastic with the sticky residue on the edge of it will, like, stick to them, and then they just won't be able to make it up into the foliage.
Interesting.
I didn't do like a lot of research into it or anything. I just I asked a local arborist who was there. I had been seeing these all around, and I was like, well, maybe it's for squirrels. Maybe like they can't climb up and then do squirrel chew up on the top. That was my first thought, and then I asked this guy, and he's like, yeah, it's for the cankerworms. They'll crawl up into it and then they'll get stuck.
Huh.
So
interesting.
that
Just
was
like fly paper.
just like kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fly paper, just about 10 to 15 feet up on the main trunk of the tree, and I just can't get up there.
Yeah.
That was the new thing that I learned.
Yeah, you wonder like what kind of problems it would create, or like how long they keep it wrapped, if it's seasonal or whatnot. Because, like I said, you're creating a moist environment in there.
Yeah,
you
you'd
know.
think you'd want to cut it off and then like just shift it, or even just like loosen it up and then shift it like a few feet every 6 months or so, just so
Yeah.
you don't have those kinds of issues. But
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, I mean, if you put the chips around the base of the tree, you create that moist environment that will girdle the tree.
right,
I wonder, I mean, it's probably not the same because you don't have that process of the chips breaking down on the bark, but
yeah, and I didn't look closely at it, but I wonder if it's like semi-permeable. So if there's like a bunch of holes punched, because
yeah,
it was all, I would just like be driving by it, so I didn't like get a really good look at it.
Yeah.
But
totally.
it looked just like either black plastic or like shrink wrap that was wrapped around a
Yeah.
tree. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. If it was like perforated.
Yeah.
But the stuff I saw was just like to like suffocate, I guess,
Right.
the mistletoe. Or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Suffocate.
Yeah, I
the
took it off and I was just attacked by ants. They were everywhere.
Well, if the ants kill the tree, there's technically no more mistletoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't have a parasite with a dead tree.
Parasite needs a host by definition. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Zombie trees.
Oh, man.
I picture like an ant with like half of its head blown off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've brought that
A
up.
bald cypress.
Yeah. We've
Tree's
asked
dead.
we've asked that question a couple times. Is a tree have more life if it's dead or alive? Because a dead tree has a ton of life in it.
Yeah.
That's a zombie tree right there.
Oh,
Nice. We got zombie trees.
holy shit! How did we bring that full circle? That is fucking great.
Well, you've seen when oaks pretty much just are all die back, and then it's just all mistletoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another zombie right there.
Tree.
The virus is just keeping it alive just enough,
Tapped into the vascular system.
Nice. Nice. Wow, we're really going in some awesome directions here. Getting a little squirrely. We got zombie trees. Holy smokes.
I think that has to be the title of this podcast
Getting
episode.
squirrely.
Squirrely zombie trees.
Squirrely, yes, squirrely zombie trees combo them both.
Yeah. Right on. Well, Johnny, you got any good stories from the field?
Well, I'm pretty good at remembering like the last week.
You're doing better than me then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew can reliably go back to breakfast, and that's about it.
Breakfast is a while ago though.
It is.
And
by this time of night, it gets iffy.
I've been doing the intermittent fasting thing, so I'm not even eating breakfast. So there's these large gaps in my memory. Yeah.
Well, I got some good inspiration last week. We were working in Corvallis, and there's this huge dead grand fir right next to the client's garage. And one of our newer climbers, he's been climbing about a year, Casey, volunteered to go up there. Nobody else volunteered, and I was working on some other stuff. And so he went up this big grand fir, 2 tops, and we zip lined the tops out. He was able to handle all the limbs.
Nice.
And then tip tied all the wood into another tree, which was pretty cool. He's a beast.
Yeah, so I
he's a
saw
beast.
that zip line on your Instagram story.
Uh-huh.
Dude, he fucking sent it. Like those
Oh,
are
yeah.
some big tops.
Yeah.
Was the zip line tied to the live tree behind it?
Yeah, it was rigged in the tree behind it. That was the rigging point. There's a block in the tree behind it, and then redirected off of it was a dead grand fir, so
Yeah, that
it's
was
good to have some backup.
That was
Yeah.
sweet.
Was that
Yeah.
in your stories or was that a post?
It was in the story.
You might have to send us that video so we can put it on the Tree Thinking social medias.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
It was a full send. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah. No, I was talking to Rob about the company and how everything's doing. He's like, oh yeah. He was talking about Casey. He's like, yeah, Casey's been crushing it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He's got the biggest forearms in the company, that's for sure.
Just straight Popeye.
4 eggs for. Well, he was a fisherman and just ate fish.
It
all
sounds
the
like
time.
Popeye, wasn't he?
Yeah,
He was a fisherman,
yeah.
right?
Well, sailor, but
you got to eat something.
You got to eat fish.
Yeah, but then at the end of that, we were leaving a snag, and it was really cool. Big, gnarly, had a bunch of conchs all over it, so there's a bunch of decay in the trunk. We left it about 20 feet tall.
Nice.
Um,
I think I saw that wildlife. Was that the wildlife snag that you just posted?
I think I did. I think I didn't post this one. It was the one that inspired the most recent post.
That was cool. How many lightning strike channels you put down
Yeah.
that was pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, so I got the inspiration from this grand fir. I was like, man, this is the coolest trunk I could carve a snag into. And so I got to use the bucket truck for it and just spent like an hour on it and put these cool like flames or waves or whatever you want to call it. And that's all I could think about for the last week. And I showed up to work on Tuesday because I had Monday off. And my roommate, Nick, who also works at Sperry, I was telling him on the drive to work, I was like, man, all I can think about is carving snags. And then I hope I get to carve a snag today. It just so happened to be that I was going back to remove this leaning fir. I went and tied it up with fan because the client thought that the tree started leaning more, and it probably had armillaria. It had sap all oozing down the whole trunk and some really weird body language. But I manifested it because I showed this picture of the snag to the client that I did the week before, and he's like, "Oh, that's so cool! I'd love to have that." And so I got to spend 2 hours carving up this snag.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
You fit in here really well. I knew that. I knew that before because we've known each other for a while. But the second you were like, all I've been thinking about is carving that snag. I was like, oh yeah, no, you're in the right place right now.
Is that the one you did with like the wavy lines all the way around? Yeah, that was so cool.
yeah, so that
That inspired me.
the
Yeah,
most
me too.
recent one I did, I did those lines probably 7 to 10 feet down. The original one I only went about 3 feet down. So this next one I was like, man, I just imagine like a twisting flame carving,
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So what I took away from that whole thing was we make these snags that are supposed to look like a failed tree. That's kind of what I've always thought about when I was making it. But why would we do that? Why can't there be like cool wavy designs down the side when in fact that's a better design? Because you're creating more space for little spiders to lay eggs and birds to come peck them. And, like what you do with a couple little lightning strikes, you're doing that like times 10.
Mhm.
And it's something cool in the client's backyard.
Totally.
You know?
You're,
Right.
That's
you're
the
making it
point I
more
was gonna
art.
make.
Yeah.
Yeah, a combination of natural breakage and art. Yeah,
Functional art.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't look like a bear or a rocket ship, you're good.
but it still looks like it naturally broke out at the top. It's pretty jagged, but instead of having more triangle shapes, I tried to add more curves instead. And I started by just making 2 deep notches in the top and making 4 corners, like real deep
That's
notches straight into the top. And then, so I had 4 corners to work with.
That's cool.
Nice.
And I was able to get more of the wavy shape rather than jagged
Yeah.
triangles.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
man,
was
that-
that was really cool.
And I think I went through 3 tanks of gas, and I used 3 different saws. I was chunking down with the 500i and then switched to the 201 TC and went through a tank with that, and then got the 150 at the end, and just like little carving bar, and just
Oh, cool.
really
Nice.
went to town.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Well, it turned out really well, man. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you inspired me to like change up how I do it.
Nice.
Kind of have fun with it and make a little piece of art in the backyard.
Definitely.
Heck yeah.
And the whole removal I limbed the whole tree up with the electric saw, the 540i, and then I chunked down with the 12-inch bar. I chunked down to about like 14 or 15 inches on a second battery.
That's sweet.
All right, so you got a 12-inch bar on your 540i.
Yeah. Well, we have two with 16-inch bars now.
All right, and it pulls the 16 pretty good.
You can't. I haven't tried the 16 yet.
Okay.
We just got those. You just can't push it. You just let it do its thing.
Yeah,
and
that's
it'll
kind of with
go.
electric saws in general
Yeah.
that I've noticed. You can get pretty big pieces if you're not pushing it. If you're just kind of letting it do its thing, and you gotta stay on top of sharpening the chains. You know, that's one of those situations where sharp chains makes a real difference.
It'll save the motor too, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's going to bring me to my stories from the field. Well, it's not really the field; it's more just of recently, because
It's the shop.
it's
Stories from the shop.
stories from the bench. Yep. So we those 540Is have been back ordered around here for quite a while, and they just had some come in. It sounds like you at Spirit, you guys got a couple, and I went into the saw shop on Wednesday. Had some other business I was doing, and I was just kind of talking with Paul over at Mr. Chainsaw, and yeah, you know, we kind of finished what we were doing, and I was like, all right, I got a stupid question for you, man. Are the 540, you know, are the T545 or 540s in? And he's all, it turns out we got a couple right here, you know, and so we start talking about them, and he's like, yeah, but they're, you know, he kind of shows me the list. He's like, they're both, you know, spoken for, but if somebody doesn't call, you know, I'd be happy to sell it to you. So I look at the list, and Corey's is one of the names on the list.
So after the theft in December, I had ordered one of these saws in like January 1st or 6th, or not 1st, but you know, like it was the first week in January. I had ordered one of these, and I've been waiting this entire time for one of these saws to show up.
And I was constantly harassing you about it.
Oh,
Like,
constantly.
yeah, like, so you got your saw yet, man? What's going on?
Yeah, just
well,
one-
and originally
one
it was
more
all seasons that you had ordered it.
Right.
And I was like, come on, you got to order it from Mr. Chainsaw, man. Those guys will set you up.
And I did.
Yeah. And so then you had one ordered at both places.
I did.
So, you know, I go in there, and, you know, it's like, oh, and in my head, I'm like, sweet, Corey's going to get this saw. He's been waiting forever for it, you know, and I'm kind of stoked about it because my buddy's getting the piece that he's been waiting for, you know. So, next day, it was a maintenance day in the shop. So we're cleaning saws and everything. And I'm not going to tell him he's about to get a call to get his saw.
Yeah.
So I just start giving him a hard time about it again.
Of course he does.
Yeah, ends up being like, you haven't gotten it yet, man. What's going on? You need to call those people up, and you know,
And me being the dumbass that I am, 15 minutes later I get the call, and I'm still clueless. I'm like, Andrew, you wouldn't believe 15 minutes after you were talking to me. And then he clues me in. Like, he has the best poker face.
oh yeah, only now and then.
Only now and then. When it comes in, it comes in. But yeah, no,
Yeah, I tried to pay him $100 to sell it to me, but he wouldn't.
Yeah.
It would have been great, yeah, if you were able to buy the saw and then be like, Corey, you should call him and see what's going on. Be like,
Well,
we just sold it.
It actually worked perfect because he All Seasons called you first, and so you're like, sweet, I'll take it,
right.
and then Mr. Chainsaw called you, and you're like, oh man. I just got one, but thank you so much, which had me stoked out because I was like, sweet, they're going to call me now.
Yeah, and I was like, actually, before I hung up, I was like, actually, who's the other guy on the list? And he's like, some guy named Andrew. And I'm like, oh, okay, never mind, because I was gonna have him like hold the saw for you if you were interested. But
Yeah.
that wasn't the way it went.
Did you pick it up?
Yeah, so,
You got one?
yeah, well,
Nice.
so the story continues.
Uh-huh.
So I super stoked, you know, I got off work, head down there, grab the saw, bring it back here. You know, you get a new saw, you're all freaking fired up about it. So I put bar oil in it and head back to the wood pile. I'm like, I've been hearing about these things. What can they cut? So I'm cutting different pieces of firewood and all stoked about it. Go put it back down and had some other stuff I had to take care of, so I took care of that stuff, and I come back in here, and I think I was gonna show Lacey it, and I pull it out, and I hit the on button on it, and it fucking starts shooting sparks out the side, and like smoke comes pouring, and I just like rip the battery out of it, and it like I have no idea what happened with that thing. No. Yeah, no, so it's back at Mr. Chainsaw now. It smelled like melting plastic and like,
oh damn.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. What you gonna do?
I haven't heard of that happening.
Yeah, no, I got a lemon, or who knows what's going on with it, you know, but
yeah, and I've been
so Husky, get your shit together.
Yeah. You know, Corey may have sabotaged.
Yeah, and you know what? That might be what it is. Corey might have been fucking Corey with his 3D chess. Yeah. God damn it.
Yeah, well, I had to pay Mr. Chainsaw $100. $100 to piss in the oil tank. Yeah. God, that was the best $100 I've ever spent in my life.
Or gas. Maybe it was gas in the oil.
Yeah, put gas in the oil.
Actually, beans in the gas.
Just got a can of baked beans for it. Yeah, no, I've been having. I got mine at the same time as Andrew did, and I've been having issues with mine. Mine's been like a chain issue. Like I went to like start it up, and it wouldn't turn over, right? So I loosened the chain a little bit. I let it turn over for a little bit, and then it threw the chain. So I had to it knocked some burrs into it, so I had to file them down. I tried it again, it threw the chain. And
Operator error.
Yeah, right. Operator error. No, it sounds like death when I start to fire it up. It's not like a regular electric chainsaw. I don't know if they gave me the wrong chain or what, or wrong bar combo on it or what, but I'm going to look at it a little bit more closely.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah, so we might use it tomorrow or we might not.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well use it if it fucks up. If you bring it back, saying the first tree I cut on it fucked up, they're not going to.
That's true.
They better do you right.
They better do me right.
You know,
and that doing me right is getting me two of the exact same chainsaw, or maybe if they throw in a 500i, I'll just be like, hey, there's only one way you can make this right.
Because everyone I talk to is so stoked on those saws. I've used it. It's a great saw.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I'm willing to overlook it. You know, like these.
But both of you guys.
Hey, every now and then. So Corey was clearly operator error.
Obviously,
that
was it.
No, but things will happen. You know, I've heard so overwhelmingly good things about the saw. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. That's just wild for both of you guys to have.
Yeah, but it's two different things.
With each other.
You know what? We're fucking each other's karma up by fucking with each other. God damn it!
This game just doesn't stop, man.
Why can't we all be friends?
You started it, Myron. You started it,
and I'll finish it.
Yeah. My only complaint is they don't come with a quarter pitch.
Okay,
should come with a quarter pitch chain. You know, with a if you have a 12-inch bar, it's just such a bouncy chain when you're trying to make 1-inch cuts.
Right.
I think that's what my buddy Charles put on there. He got one of those Panther bars, and it might have been a quarter pitch chain on there.
Yeah,
too.
definitely, for sure.
Yeah,
without the safety rakers too, because the 150s, the still 150s come with the safety rakers.
Those are such.
It's like a double raker, basically.
That's what came on the one I had, and instantly I was like, oh god, I need a new chain.
We just take it to the grinder.
Yeah.
Just grind them all down.
Nice. Yeah, those double rakers are horse shit. Just horse shit.
I don't understand.
Well, it's for homeowners. It's because it's a low kickback thing. It's for dumbasses who shouldn't be running a chainsaw.
And people always ask if the electric top handles are it's just good for pruning, or can you do removals with it? How long does it last, and all this stuff. And my buddy Charles, I think he just commented on your Instagram post. I saw it's 90% of his use now.
Yeah.
98%, I think is what he said.
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah. And every time I work with him, I never see his gas powered out. It's all.
And I'm a 200T guy at heart.
Yeah.
And if it replaces the 200T, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, for big wood, I think you're still, that 200T is going
to
get you through it faster.
Probably, but
I'm always surprised at what we get through with his 540, 541.
We're going to have to find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll find out. Baked beans and let her rip.
Yeah, that's right.
Whenever they clean the baked beans out of it.
They're in there good. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Sweet.
Right on. Well, you guys want to take a quick break?
Sounds good.
Right on. All right. Well, let's take a little beer break, and then we'll get back in a minute.
And now a word from our sponsors. Silence.
Johnny loves tree care.
All right. We're back from our break, and yeah, back to it. Anybody else have any stories?
Yeah, so kind of an eye-opener. We just kind of talked about this a little bit, but I was working a tree, and, the work orders remove hazardous deadwood. So in most of our minds, that's a certain diameter when you're thinking of hazardous deadwood,
Yeah.
Whether it's like super soft and lightweight or anything, it's kind of like what the client sees, is a big piece of deadwood, even if it's just this crumbly piece of thing that's not going to hurt anything. And maybe the better approach would be to like stop, go talk to the client, be like, this isn't hazardous and it's got, habitat or whatever. Thing is, I didn't know that there was any cavities in it or anything was occupied, and just snapped this piece off with my hands, tossed it to the ground, and there was a little nest in there, little baby birds. I think there was 4 of them. And immediately the ground guy saw it, and it was cool. The ground guys went into action and gnashed the piece of wood back together with this twine that they found in the backyard, and like reassembled the nest with the birds in it.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
And then sent it back up to me I was going to retie it up into the tree right next to where I broke it off at.
Reinstall the deadwood.
Yeah. And as the ground guy got on the roof and was handing it, this is funny, reinstalling deadwood.
Well, it's like what you always say to clients. You can always take more off. You can't put it back.
Yeah, but we put it back.
But when there's baby birds involved, God damn it, we're putting it back in.
Yeah.
Get the super glue.
So while he was handing it up to me, this little Frankenstein nest is, reanimated nest. As he was handing it up to me,
it's a zombie nest.
the mama bird came and flew and landed on it and was checking out the little cavity
While you were holding it.
Yeah, and then he handed
Wow.
it to me, and I was holding it, and then another bird. I'm guessing it was the mother and the father. I don't really know the bird world too much, but so 2 birds on this piece of wood that I'm holding, like they were just so concerned about what was going on there and not concerned about us at all, which is pretty interesting. And then Becca said one of them came over and landed on her rope runner.
Whoa.
Yeah, crazy interaction with birds, but we were able to hang it up, and yeah, they found their way back in there, so hopefully everything was all good.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh.
We told the clients right after, hey, this is what happened, so now we rehung this piece of deadwood in your tree.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, that's great, thank you.
Oh, one, that's awesome that the clients were so understanding.
Yeah.
Having good clients. And 2, it's one of those hard things, because if you don't know, you just don't know. But it's such an important thing for us to be aware of. I know we talked about this a lot on the wildlife episode, of how what we do is, it's not just the trees, but it's all the creatures that live in the trees and benefit from the trees. And
Yeah. So after that, there were more pieces of deadwood to get that had cavities in them, so we were inspecting them before removing it.
perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Especially this time of year, you should, if you see a cavity, like most deadwood, you can tell like there's nothing going on there, just cut off the limb or whatever. But if there's a cavity, I was kind of looking in there, kind of knocking on it, listening and everything before I'd remove it. That was the only nest in the tree. But yeah, it's kind of a blow to morale at first, when something like that happens. Like everything stopped and everyone was kind of silent, like, oh shit. But it was cool to see everyone go to action and reassemble the nest and get it up in the tree and see the birds go into it immediately.
That is a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah, be on the lookout between March and July.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yep, that's a good time period. And it's also, I think worth kind of learning a little bit, and this is something I don't do enough, but this episode has been such a wildlife kind of heavy episode, just randomly, to kind of learn about the wildlife that's in your neighborhood, what birds are nesting and when are they nesting, and what kind of habitat they're looking for to nest in. This is making me realize that I could up my game by learning some of that stuff.
I had a really fun black walnut climb, and there was what were those? nuthatches
Nice.
in a big black walnut, and it had these huge limb walks. So basically, every limb walk, I'd just chill out and take like a 5-minute break. It was a lot of work. Every limb was a lot of work, so I'd just hang out and take a break. And these nuthatches would come and land on my rope, and I got all these videos of them just bombing out of the tree. They just tuck their wings and then glide. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
Wow.
But I didn't know much about that. And then Albie, he's very much into birds, as much into birds as he is into trees.
And he's way into trees.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So he's way into birds, and he's a great resource. He's like our encyclopedia for information as far as birds and trees go. But he asked if there was any cavities. I didn't realize that the nuthatches were cavity nesters, and and I said, yeah, come to think about it, there were cavities. I didn't see any bird nests, but yeah, there's cavities. So I was aware that they were very curious once I kind of would slow down and stop working. So that made me very aware of what I was cutting and if there was any nests, but they were in the cavities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that until after.
Are nuthatches the ones that will like burrow in and then bury acorns in pieces of deadwood up in the?
Those are acorn woodpeckers.
Acorn woodpeckers. Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I always thought that was squirrels doing that for some reason. I don't know. I just associate acorns with squirrels.
Yeah, everything to do with an acorn, it's a squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool to know. I had a friend who, I think they were taking out some cottonwoods or something, and there was an owl nest in there with some baby owls.
Wow.
And they were all fine, and they got them to the Raptor Center, and the Raptor Center's taking care of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a video on his Instagram, and I've never heard the sound of a baby owl before. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Like little demons.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have any other wildlife stories, and nothing's really
I guess
coming
I
to
kind
mind.
of got one. So squirrel nests. You guys get them out of trees when you see them?
For not if there's babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one, if it's abandoned, if there's nothing in it, I'll definitely eject it. So often when you pull the squirrel nest out, you can see where the nest is. Everything's chewed up, all the bark's chewed, and they just do so much damage to trees. And so I've always kind of had this more hate than love relationship with squirrels, because I've seen so many beautiful trees that were just destroyed by squirrel chew. So it frustrates you.
Yeah, and it's hard because some of the gray squirrel, western gray squirrel is native here, but the fox squirrel, the brown or gray one, or brown or red one, that one's not.
Yeah.
And so like if you go to like a squirrel rescue or whatever, they won't take the fox squirrels because they're not native, and they won't like help support them or whatever, which is.
I wonder if that squirrel person, what was it?
Call our friend.
Yeah, was it? What was their account?
Well, Squirrel Boxes is separate.
Okay.
I won't say her name, and
Yeah.
but, yeah, we'll call her.
Yeah.
Get a hold of me.
Yeah, get a hold of Jamie. He'll figure something out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Each squirrel has multiple, they're called loafing platforms. And each squirrel, squirrels generally have like several in a neighborhood. So
Interesting.
they'll go hang out in multiple different trees or even multiple different parts of one big tree.
Okay. Yeah. Did a big cedar of Lebanon prune, beautiful tree, and yeah, squirrel chew everywhere. But for some reason, it didn't occur to me to like remove the nest.
Yeah.
It was vacant, and I was just like, it's not something I've ever done, and it might depend on the client too. They might be like, "Why'd you take that out of there?"
Yeah.
That is interesting. You could really turn someone off if they, some people love having the squirrels around.
Yeah.
And if you run into one of those people and then you're up in their tree in their backyard just ripping squirrel nests out of their tree.
All of a sudden, a couple babies drop out. Yeah.
Oh man.
You're not getting a call back on that job.
That's our only 2 bad reviews on Google is about squirrels.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was doing a job, and the client wanted me to pull apart the squirrel nest, and it was a London plane tree, and it was right in a big center scaffold, and I think it had like 3 or 4 big scaffold branches coming out of it. So it was a big nest in a big like center area, and I start pulling it out, and I'm like, I think there's something in here, and it took me a while to get actually down into the squirrels. Like I had to remove probably like 6 inches of like leaf material before I actually found the squirrels, and I'm like, oh nope, squirrels in there. So I like shoved it back over the top of it, and then went back to the other part of the tree and started working. Well, a mama squirrel came out, and she was really pissed, obviously. I mean, I would have been pissed too. So she starts moving her squirrels, her babies, out of the tree and into another adjacent tree. So that must tie into what you're talking about, multiple places where they, what did you call it? Multiple
Loafing platforms.
Loafing platforms, okay. So she must have been taking them to another loafing platform that she felt was safe, because obviously that one wasn't either, because there's some jackass with a chainsaw.
Yeah, so that nest, I didn't remove it. I think there was 2 in that cedar Lebanon. And I came down, talked to the client. She was stoked, and then we were hanging out in the alley afterwards, having a safety meeting. And then she came back out and asked about the squirrel nest and if I should have removed that or not. And in my head, I was like, I don't know. I thought you just left it alone, even though it was causing a lot of damage to that tree.
Yeah.
It just didn't click with me to like pull that thing something made out of the tree.
Totally.
But then later, I felt bad about it because I probably should have removed it. It was vacant, and there's a bunch of damage you could see all through that neighborhood. I didn't think it was going to get rid of the problem, because you look at the neighbor's house, or Japanese maples just chewed to hell, like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And told her about the antler thing. And then, so I went back, the next week, I guess, after a job, and went and got it out of there real quick. But it was a weird thing, because I'm like, do other people like remove them all the time?
I've known people that just will hack up even if there's babies in it. Will just eject the nest, and
just feed them through a wood chipper.
It's one. Yeah, I've known people that have done that, and that doesn't sit right with me for sure.
No.
The as far as just removing the nest, I think that's a personal call, and I'm not going to hate on anybody either way.
I think you'd have to get the client's vibe too.
Yeah, you'd have to get the client's vibe, and just through this conversation, I've been thinking about it, and you're not going to get rid of the squirrel by kicking the nest out. So at what point is that like your own little emotional, like, oh, stupid squirrel, get out of here?
Yeah. You get rid of the nest, and you're there for like one day, once every maybe year and a half, 2 years if you're lucky. That squirrel is visiting that tree every single day. So
I suggested they buy a paintball gun.
Bingo. Bingo. Or if you really want to alleviate the problem, a real gun.
My biggest problem currently with the squirrels is the one that's living in the tree at my house, which I didn't have the heart to remove the nest or loafing platform. I've been trying to plant a bunch of moss and convert the yard into moss, and the squirrel will just come down every morning, and I see it just ripping up the moss and throwing the moss around.
Little bastard.
It's just a loafing platform made of moss up in the tree.
It probably is. Yeah, I'm gonna go get my moss back.
Yeah, that's one of those things where I think everybody's got to make their own choice. And I think a big part of it is kind of the client. Like you're saying, you got to read the client, because after all, that's the client's tree and the client's yard, and it feels like that should be the client's decision. The more I think about it.
Yeah, every time I've gone to remove a squirrel nest, it's usually at the behest of the client, and I start removing it, and then if I see signs of a squirrel in there, I let the client know right away, and I've never gotten pushback. Been like, hey, there's squirrels in here. I'm not going to remove this, and they're just like, oh yeah, no, don't. Like, to their credit, most clients that I've worked for are very aware of that, and it's not like they're trying to be vindictive. They're just a giant unsightly nest, and they want to get rid of it as long as it doesn't hurt anything.
They never say they're in season. We'll have you over for dinner.
You ever had squirrel gumbo? It's pretty good.
Yeah. Have any of you guys run into raccoons up in the tree?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember being on like this, I think it was like a red oak, where I'm kind of climbing out and up this big long lead, and I'm making it up, and I all of a sudden realized that I've like, chased this raccoon out to the tip of it, and it's starting to like, and it's up there looking at me, and I'm like, you know, I just grabbed my hands out because it was like, if you're coming at me, man, I got to have something to protect myself with. And then just like, so it's one of the, you know, it's kind of like the cat rescue. You start talking to the animal, like, all right, man, I'm backing off. Don't come at me and I won't come at you. And I just like slowly climbed down and then swung to another branch and just watched the raccoon run down the branch, you know. But yeah, raccoons, man, a cornered animal, you know, and raccoons look like, when they get vicious, they look like they'd be a handful.
Like, raccoons are one of those critters you just never want to pick a fight with.
No.
Well, earlier, was it this week? No, it was last week when we were interviewing at the city, when we were interviewing one of our new seasonals.
Oh, yeah.
Behind us, so we have a couple those coastal redwoods that we have rigged. A raccoon just starts scurrying up it, like right in the middle of the interview.
Nice.
It was great. Like, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was pretty cool watching it climb because it's a big, you know, it's not like a giant redwood, but it's big enough to have like big old bark platelets on it. Mm-hmm. And it looked like it was just rock climbing these big bark platelets
That looked
up the side of the tree.
Like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, just scaling the redwood.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've had them going up to do a cabling job. Me and another climber, we get up and then notice that he's in this big, you know, crotch that, you know, the reason we're cabling the tree.
Yeah.
And sees us and just starts going up to the top. So we go up, do our thing, just see him watching us, come down, and that was it. You know? Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, they for whatever reason they like those giant unions.
Yeah, talking about loafing platforms, raccoons will, I've heard, like pick one spot to defecate, and like that's their spot.
Yep.
Watch out for
they
that.
have a toilet.
Yeah,
you're in a big.
I heard
black
that
walnut.
stuff's pretty bad if you happen to ingest that at all.
So what I've
Drop
heard
your
about
rope in it.
Yeah, what I've heard about raccoon shit is that there's little worms in there. And if it gets in your eye, which sounds like, why the fuck would you get raccoon poop in your eye or ingest it? But like, you know, you'll throw a rope up through there, pull it through and not know it's there until all of a sudden the rope's pulling it down, you know.
Also, it doesn't take much to aerosolize, you know, dried shit.
Yeah, no, totally. And so you get one of those worms in your eye, it'll eat into your eye and into your brain and start eating your brain. And people have died from getting raccoon shit in their eye.
Yeah, that's not terrifying at all.
Yeah, so I give raccoon shit a healthy freaking girth. I read an article a long time ago about that, and I've told a lot of people that, and they're like, what are you even talking? Why would you even know if you get raccoon poop in your eye? And, you know,
it's an occupational hazard. Leave me alone.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm, you know, this isn't just something that, you know, was just a bullshit article back in the day, but I don't think, because I've heard other people confirm it. They're like, oh yeah, I've heard that.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. So
probably from Andrew.
Yeah. Or somebody I talked to a long time ago, you know.
No, I heard it from Keegan. He's an encyclopedia as well.
Oh yeah. Keegan seems like the type of guy that if he's telling you something, it's because he came by it from a good source.
Research.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't. I'll try to say this word. It's Balisiscaris. Balisiscaris.
Oh yeah, Balisiscaris. I think that's what it was.
Shut up,
Andrew.
Oh no. That's the worm?
Just shut up.
It says it's a disease you get.
Oh, maybe it's a disease.
Disease caused by the worm.
Spread by worms.
That burrows into your eyeball, then to your
brain. A raccoon roundworm? Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. That actually does sound familiar.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like that, Corey.
You could say 6 names, and every single one of them would sound familiar. Increasingly more familiar until it actually got to something that...
See, Corey, if you were still playing 3D chess, you would have been like, oh, the raccoon pinecone worm.
It's too...
And waited for me to be like, oh, yeah. No, that sounds good.
It's too easy at this point, man. Yeah. It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Ooh, fish in a barrel. I think it was the fish in the barrel worm.
We found a Frisbee once. I think it was in a big black walnut, and that was the raccoon's pooping spot. It's this pink Frisbee with just a huge pile.
A Frisbee of death.
Well, got to use the pink toilet again. Bye.
We played catch at lunch.
How's your brain and eyeball feel?
It was a roundworm Frisbee.
I think people know how my brain is doing. I need to bring a computer. It's easier to Google things, and
we need to.
Yeah,
because then we can answer some of these questions we pose.
We might actually not create more questions than we answer with our podcast.
Source check.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm ready to wrap it up. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to go over.
Yeah, I'm tired of listening to you guys talk.
Yeah. Here, let me turn off Corey's mic real quick. All right. So, Corey, you got any final thoughts?
Don't get raccoon poop in your eye. That is my new greatest fear.
Yeah. Mine's when you see cavities in deadwood, check it out. Give it a knock, listen to it, especially, what'd you say, March to July, kind of this time of year. Inspect it, because it really sucks to eject something from their home.
Yeah.
That's it.
On a similar note, pay as much attention to birds as the trees.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I like that. Yep.
And other critters.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for birds, you might find some other critters too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just be kind of thinking about wildlife trees and kind of making it into art, kind of functional art next time I make a wildlife tree. We kind of already do that just by trying to mimic a top, but I'm gonna start thinking about how I can take it to that next level.
Yeah, I'm stoked on that. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Inspired by wildfire.
The wildfire snags.
Nice.
And with that, I'll say stay safe and keep it squirrely.
Just heard it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.